Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Church of Religious Science. First Church, sometimes called First Center by some of you, is a place where we teach the vibrant teachings of Raymond Charles Barker and our beloved Louise. No matter if you're joining us on Zoom, as many of you are right now, YouTube, Insta, or X, or perhaps you're sipping coffee in your kitchen, or you're feeling the morning breeze on your porch, wherever you're catching this broadcast, maybe it's later in the day, you are in the right place. You're right where you belong. I want to say that we gather 3 times a week. Sunday mornings at 10:45, as you know, is our meditation, followed by our lesson, the main lesson for the week. Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m., we have our Creative Living series, which is facilitated by Reverend James. Again, same Zoom links. And every Thursday evening at 7, we have our self-healing class, which is our Louise Hay class. So you're invited to any of these, all of these, every week. We always have time for personal sharing after our broadcasts. Today, or this weekend rather, is the 4th of July weekend. Fireworks are popping, flags are waving, and the language of freedom is everywhere. So let's go a little deeper than slogans and sparklers. Let's ask ourselves a question on this holiday weekend. What does freedom feel like within yourself? What does freedom feel like in your heart? What does it mean to be free deep in your soul? You might ask yourself if you are free. And what if you're already free right now? What does that feel like? So our mantra today is simple and it's powerful. And here it is. I am free here and now. So say that softly to yourself. I am free here and now. Let that idea, those words rise in your chest and feel it land. I'm free here and now. We gather today not to perform or to impress or to perfect ourselves. We're already perfect. So we gather for a different reason. We gather to remember, and we gather to remember and celebrate who we are, to feel the spark of spirit inside us. As Walt Whitman said long ago, I am larger, better than I thought. I didn't know I held so much goodness. You see, that's divine liberty. I'll repeat that again. It's very beautiful from Walt Whitman again. I am larger, better than I thought. I did not know I held so much goodness. So again, that's divine liberty to have that realization, to have the understanding that you are radiant yourself, that you're whole, you're complete. So think of the moments, the moments where you feel truly alive. Maybe you're taking a quiet walk at dusk, or for some of you it might be the early morning, where the air is still, your heart beats loud. Or maybe it's a time for you where you're laughing with a friend, when everything feels serendipitous or just feels wonderful. Those moments represent freedom. So today we're exploring divine liberty, a freedom that begins always in your soul, deep at the center of your being, and it's a freedom that will radiate out from you and it will touch others. It's the freedom, first of all, to begin to trust yourself or trust yourself more, to be committed to seeing the good in yourself. Louise would say, I love, accept, and approve of myself. So we want to have that commitment to see the good in ourselves and then to see it in others. And we want to be committed to release judgment wherever it shows up. Release the need to judge. And we begin with a voice. And we begin with the voice that I think lit this fire, at least in our teaching, Ralph Waldo Emerson. From Emerson's essays, we learned that Emerson was all about self-reliance and listening within to the call for inner freedom. So I'd like you to imagine Emerson. Imagine a warm July evening way back to 1838. Ralph Waldo Emerson, just in his 30s, stands before a hall of divinity students at Harvard University. Young men at the time preparing for ministry, trained to follow the church rules, the church doctrines, and the hierarchy way back then. But Emerson is about to set off fireworks of his own. He looks out his group, and in essence, he says, go alone, do your own thing. Don't follow the crowd, not even the holy crowd, the ministers. And he was advocating trust the voice within, connect directly with Spirit. He was so bold, so outside of the lines, they didn't invite him back for 30 years. He was telling future ministers at the time, skip the middleman, which would be the churches. And he would be suggesting, find the divine within yourself. It was a radical idea then, and for many, it's a radical idea now. Emerson believed your intuition, that's your inner connection. He believed in it. He believed in your inner knowing. And he believed it was the clearest channel you'll ever have to truth. He said, you don't need to earn your way to obtain this. So you can't earn it, your way into connection. This connection's already established. You are one with it. You'll hear us say, you are one with the one. Or Louise Hay would say, deep at the center of your being is this energy, this something, this infinite well of love. It's there just like your next breath is there. So when you're true to yourself, and when you become aware of that connection, your heart opens like a wide summer sky. And when you're off, when you're not in connection, when you're working against yourself, it's like it all contracts, like tight, clenched, maybe unsure. Emerson taught that heaven and hell aren't distant destinations. So if you're thinking of heaven or hell, what he's saying is they are states of consciousness. Emerson's advice, live honestly, live courageously, and then you will feel light. There'll be a lightness. He said you're in heaven when you live this way, and you're trusting the process of life. But when you live with a sense of not being okay, or you live in a sense of fear, apprehension, judgment, pretense, that's its own kind of hell. And the subject of evil, he said, it's not some sinister force out there in the shadows. Emerson said it's just forgetting the good within you and the good around you. His words were beautiful. He pointed toward a field beyond our judgment. He pointed to a field, a place of spiritual wholeness and perfection. And he knew all is well. Something we teach all the time, that you're in the perfect place, perfect time, all the time. Emerson knew this. Again, his words were very beautiful, and he was talking about this place, a field, an activity that's beyond our judgments, a place of spiritual wholeness where all is well. Of course, the church authorities back then didn't like it. They wanted order. They wanted control over their ministers and their congregations. They taught tradition. They taught dogma. But what Emerson was offering, he was really part of the foundation of New Thought. Emerson was offering inner freedom. So he left the pulpit as a young man. He left the churches and he went to the people. He spoke in town halls. He spoke in barns. He spoke in lecture circuits. He spoke to farmers, teachers, seekers, and they came because they connected with what he was saying. They felt it. This was truth with wings. They were hearing how great they are. They were hearing that they are one with life and that they are one with spirit. And of course, Ernest Holmes, who was the founder of our teaching, was inspired by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And we often hear how freeing our teaching is. People come out of various traditions where there's been a lot of judgment, a lot of dogma. Many of us have been told we were sinners and all kinds of things. I know I came from one of those backgrounds. So when I was putting this lesson together, I remembered talking to a lady a while back who said, She was thinking of all the ways she had failed in her life. She thought she had failed as a parent. She didn't think she was too good as in her marriage. And she went on and on. And she said she was listening to one of our programs where I had said in one of the lessons, all is well. Of course, I think I say that in just about every lesson. And I think the other thing she mentioned was, I had said in that lesson, trust yourself. Trust yourself and trust the process of life, which is a quote I often use from Louise Hay. And when she was telling me the story, she said when she heard it, it's something that like she heard it in a new way for the first time. It opened her up. So maybe you've had moments like that where you heard something came to you perhaps in one of the classes, or maybe it came from a book or a lyric in a song or a quiet nudge that you got from within. But whatever happened is you finally got it. You got the message where you realized that you're more than the story you've been telling yourself. Once you realize that connection, once you understand that you have that freedom, then you have the freedom to trust yourself, to trust your own direction, to trust your own soul. So let's pause and ask ourselves, if we ever felt like we didn't fit the mold, we didn't feel like that we were okay. Have we ever questioned the rules that we were handed? I know I questioned a lot when I was younger. I questioned what I got from my religion at the time. Have you ever questioned the messages you got from your parents, your spouse, your family? Have you ever heard that small voice within you whisper, I can do more, or I was meant for more? If so, that's good. That means you're right on time. You're listening to Spirit wooing within you. And now let's turn to Ernest Holmes and the spiritual meaning of freedom. Ernest Holmes was the religious scientist who gave us a spiritual roadmap to walk this freedom, to practice it, not just think about it. On a July 4th weekend, some approximately 80 years ago, Ernest Holmes gave a talk entitled The Spiritual Message of Freedom. It still resonates because no matter the year, the search remains the same. How do we live free, not just from rules, but how do we live free from fear? How do we live free from doubt and guilt and shame? Or how do we live free from the lie that we're not okay, that we're not good enough, or that we're not enough? Ernest Holmes answered with this timeless line. He said, we recognize that there is one power in the universe greater than we are, and we can use it. You see, that's metaphysics. The idea that you're not separate from spirit ever. The idea that you are made of spirit always. And you can use that awareness to liberate your life. Once you know that you're one with the one, you can use that understanding to liberate your life. Holmes taught us how to use the affirmative life. And he said the affirmative life is one that focuses on the good, where you're always focused on seeing the God or the good, where you refuse to be offended. The affirmative life, again, where you refuse to be offended because you know that there's one energy, one life. So again, focused on the good, refusing to be offended, and seeing this kingdom as already at hand, that you live in it, you move in it, you have your being in it. When you start seeing everyone as doing the best they can, like Louise Hay taught, you begin to live in this higher frequency, this higher energy field, the one that's beyond judgment, because you know all is well. So you begin to live in this higher frequency beyond judgment where you're always noticing that divine order is unfolding all the time. It's evolving, it's unfolding. This yearning for freedom will show up everywhere. It shows up when you're in that kind of connection. It shows up in your conversations. It shows up in your journaling. It shows up in your quiet car rides where you watch the trees and wonder, is this all there is? Maybe you're there now. Maybe you have your earbuds on today, or you're scanning the world for something more. Maybe you have a longing That longing within you is holy. There's something within you that's always wanting to express more. It's the soul asking to come home. But Ernest Holmes gave us a little bit of a warning. He said, sometimes we escape one trap only to find ourselves in another. So we might leave a job thinking, now I'm going to be free. But the new one feels just as heavy. Or you might walk away from a relationship expecting lightness, only to find yourself repeating the same pattern with yet another person. So we've all been there. I remember once leaving a job that felt confining when I was younger. I had dreams of having more free time to do more important work, creative freedom. And pretty soon, I was trying to win a supervisor's approval. I was trying to fit into someone else's expectations. You see, it wasn't the job. It was the judgment that I was carrying. The moment, though, I started practicing understanding and compassion for myself, where I got to the point where I refused to be offended by my own mistakes, I began to feel a shift. You see, sometimes we're blocking our own light. Ernest Holmes said, freedom isn't linear necessarily. You can think of freedom as a spiral. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. But the thing to know is every single turn has something in it to teach us. In that sense, it's all perfect. You're always in the right place at the right time. Holmes taught us also that true freedom is cosmic. It doesn't belong to a government or a movement. This true freedom begins in your soul. Lao Tzu wrote, when you realize there is nothing lacking anywhere, then the whole world belongs to you. So Lao Tzu is saying it in a different way. When you realize that there's nothing lacking, in other words, all is well, then the whole world belongs to you. That's divine liberty. That's wholeness. That's the realization of oneness and enoughness. And Holmes gave us a litmus test. He said, if your freedom harms another, it's not real freedom. It's a disguised prison. And he went on to say, a heart divided cannot stand. So what is real freedom? It's choosing actions that lift, not shrink. It's seeing through the illusion of separation, through the idea of them and us. There's no them. There's only one. Everything you see is spirit. Your spirit looking at spirit. So you notice we use words like namaste. The divinity in me sees and acknowledges it in you. As we're working this teaching more and more, we're coming to the realization that we live, we move, we have our being in this divine energy. And then, as we're living this, we're knowing that it's all good. We're all made of the same spirit. And spirit is expressing itself in countless ways. If I judge you, my heart tightens. If I attack you, I block my light. But if I forgive endlessly, 70 times 7 or whatever it is, if I forgive, if I bless, if I love, my heart opens. And in that opening, I'm free. That's divine liberty. And it starts exactly always right where you are, right here, right now. Now let's get practical. Divine liberty has to work in real life. It has to work when our apartment's a mess, when we're in a traffic jam, when there's deadlines and there's doubts. I'm going to give you 3 doorways today that you can walk through, that you can practice with. And you don't need to do anything perfectly. Just have to have a little willingness. So let's take a pause. Take a breath. The first doorway today is to develop freedom from self-judgment. You hear me say week after week, never, never, never criticize yourself. So the first doorway is freedom from self-judgment. You know the voice that says, I messed up, I'm not okay, I'm not enough, I should have done better, I've missed my chance, it's too late for me. Well, here's the thing most of you know, that's not the truth. That's programming. You're speaking from your programming. And that's the echo of fear pretending to be wisdom. It's like locking yourself into a cage with the key in your own hand. because you're doing it to yourself. You spent years trying to be good enough for everyone else, for yourself, your family, your boss, your tradition. But somewhere along the way, you forgot what you held to be really true. You forgot what you believe. Or even if you liked yourself. Someone in our Thursday self-healing class once commented that she used to hate herself for every mistake she'd ever made. She regretted so much of her life. She thought she should have done much better, thought that she didn't live a good life. But things began to shift when they started shifting from what's wrong with me to what's true about me. They then began to see, as Louise had taught, that they had always been doing the best they can with the awareness that they had. See, that's what we're always teaching. Just release the need to go back there and tell yourself, I've always done the best I could at any given point in time. And as this person did this, something softened. They began to see themselves as spirit will always see you. Spirit will always see you as whole, free, beloved. Emily Dickinson once wrote, "The soul selects her own society." That's a beautiful quote. The soul, your soul, selects its own society. That's freedom. It's choosing to love yourself, to quiet the critic, to claim the fact that you belong. So try this. The next time that harsh voice rises up within, pause, breathe, and say to yourself, I am free here and now. I'm free here and now. And then ask, what's one thing I like about myself today? We can all do that right now. What one thing do you like about yourself? It might feel small, but that question opens a door. Even now, on this 4th of July weekend, or whenever you're listening, maybe you're in your car, you could be stuck behind red lights. You might be replaying your old regrets, but wherever you are, take a breath and say it to yourself, I'm free, here and now. Tell yourself you're doing your best, and that's enough. You see, you have the freedom to change your mind at any time, at any age. Here's the second doorway that I want to mention today. You have the freedom to grow. You have the freedom to say, that choice worked yesterday, but today I want something different. Today I want something new. Many of us think, well, this is just who I am now. But Ralph Waldo Emerson reminds us, say what you believe today with all your heart, and tomorrow say what you believe then, even if it's different. Whether you're picking songs for your playlist or rethinking a perspective, you can stop and you can start again. You can try something new because growing never stops. The soul is always blooming. Look at Louise Hay. Well into her 50s, she wrote, You Can Heal Your Life, a book that helped tens of millions of people. She didn't say it's too late for me. She chose to rewrite her story with compassion and with power. Or think of Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Zen teacher, well into his 80s, who said, freedom is not given to us by anyone. We have to cultivate it within ourselves. He kept growing. He kept teaching. He kept deepening his peace. I've heard the same people from our community say, I grew up in a strict belief system. It felt safe, but it felt small. They didn't reject their past. They honored it, but they chose to open up to something wider. Louise Hay would say, bless the path that got you here and keep walking. So we can honor our religions, we can honor our traditions, we can bless the path that got us here, and we can keep moving, we can keep walking. Ask yourself today, is there a belief within me right now that feels small? Is there a belief within me that feels like it doesn't make sense anymore? What if today you let it go, if you let it go with love, wherever it came from? Some of the things were passed on to us by people we love. So if there's a belief now that feels small, outdated, let it go with love. Replace it with something more generous. You see, there's a wide open field where growth happens, not in judgment, but in gentleness. Number 3, freedom from the world's noise. That's our third doorway. Freedom from all the noise, the scrolling on our devices, the buzz, what everybody's talking about, the constant tug of notifications, news alerts, and the ads that will whisper, if we listen to them, that we're not enough unless we buy this or do that. Everything's a constant battle for our attention and for our soul. One busy parent in our community started what they called a freedom timer. So here it is. For 5 minutes every morning, they had no phones, no headlines, just the time for breathing and relaxation, sipping their tea or coffee, listening to their heart. And they told me, I didn't realize how much I had let the world take over my headspace. So those 4 or 5 minutes, they belong to me now. And as I did it, something changed, something shifted. I became calmer, more centered. And this person started writing again, something they hadn't done in years. They're living what Holmes would call the affirmative life, choosing peace, practicing presence, and seeing the good. That's divine liberty. It's saying, I'm not the world's product, I'm Spirit's creation. Whitman once wrote, I hear and behold God in every object, yet understand God not in the least. Again, that's a wonderful idea. I hear and behold the divine in every object, yet understand God not in the least. Sometimes we don't need to understand. We simply need to listen. So here's your takeaway. Try a freedom timer this week. Take 4 or 5 minutes a day without a phone, without TV, without your devices. Just you and your breath. Take that pause and ask, what's moving in me today? What wants to come forward in me today? Even now, you might be jogging. You could have your earbuds in, half paying attention to this lesson. Whatever you're doing, let the moment be your reset moment. Say it softly. Say it softly on this 4th of July weekend. I'm free. I'm here and now. The kingdom is at hand, if you will. So these 3 doorways, self-love, soul growth, and sacred quiet, are your spiritual practice. Again, for those half listening, driving your cars, the 3 doorways for this weekend to consider: self-love, soul growth, and sacred quiet. These are your spiritual practice. And when you choose freedom, even quietly, you light the way for someone else. Again, one more time, I am free. I'm here and now. Take that breath and let's keep going. 4, the flight of the soul, freedom beyond limits. We've been talking about divine liberty, not the kind that the world gives or takes away, but the kind that lives in you. Emerson again taught us to trust the voice within. Holmes showed us that we are one with the one. We've seen in real life, in moments of compassion, growth, and inner courage. Now I want to share a story that always feels like a spark. Some of you have heard of it before. If you know Jonathan Livingston Seagull, it's a short novel from the 1970s. It's a spiritual parable about a seagull who didn't want to settle for an ordinary life. While the rest of the flock flew only to eat, Jonathan longed to soar. Jonathan wanted to soar higher, faster, and freer. He practiced every day, looping and diving and lifting off again and again. The flock mocked him. They pushed him out. But he didn't stop, because deep inside he knew that he was born for more. One day, Jonathan met Maynard Gull, a bird dragging one wing, limping through the sand, convinced he'll never fly again. And Jonathan kneeled beside him and said softly, "You are free here and now. Nothing can hold you back. Spread your wings." And Maynard hesitated. His wing was aching. His fear was louder than his hope. But something clicked within Maynard. He tried a little. And he tried more. And then it happens. He lifts off the sand. He catches the wind. He rises. From 500 feet above, he shouts, I can fly. I can fly. The flock doesn't understand what happened, but they've seen something they can't unsee. A bird once broken now is airborne. A new possibility born in the sky. And that's why it moves us. That's why that story always moves us. Because we've all been Maynard. We've felt grounded by pain. We've dragged our dreams behind us. We've thought, maybe it's too late for me. I've made too many mistakes. But then comes a word, a prayer, a nudge, a reminder. You are free here and now. That's the flight of the soul. Lao Tzu wrote, be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. You see, that's not resignation. That's alignment. It's spiritual alignment. Again, Lao Tzu said, be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. That's alignment. That's when the wind is going to lift you because you finally stop fighting yourself. So let's say what we came to say. I'm not broken. It's not too late. I'm here to be free. And when you rise even a little, someone else might whisper, maybe I can do that too. Maybe I can fly also. Freedom is contagious, not the kind that divides, but the kind that remembers who we really are. So let's affirm together today, again, I'm free here and now. I'm free here and now, and I trust the voice within me. I rise into my true self. And if something in today's message moved you, share it. Let your light ripple outward. If there's a quote, say it. If there's a mantra, say it. Even just the words, I'm free, here and now. You can tag it on Instagram with a hashtag, I'm free, here and now. You never know who's waiting to be lifted. So let's take a breath. Let's move into prayer. Let's be quiet. If you're comfortable, you close your eyes for a moment or just turn your attention inward and notice your breath. Feel it steady and kind. Feel your heart alive with light. Feel your soul singing softly. You are enough. So let's close. There's one life, one love, one infinite spirit flowing through all. It's in my breath. It's in my being. It's in my freedom without end. We are one with the one, free from old stories, free to soar, free to shine, free to serve, to soar. We are not stuck. We're not small. We are radiant expressions of light, whole, holy, and rising. I bless every heart here, every hope, every healing, everything, every quiet breakthrough. You are free here and now. This is the truth. This is the law. And together we say, and so it is. So thank you all. This is your time now. I want to invite you into one of the most meaningful parts of our gathering, our time of sharing. Maybe something landed for you today. Maybe something came up. So we'd love to hear from you what opened up for you, what line or idea stirred something within you. So if you're new to the community, again, please say hello. Thank you all. I'm glad you're all here.